Hi, and welcome to TalkRx with Dr. Neha. I have yet another brave soul. This week, Ta is joining us so that all of you can learn. And how many people do you know in your life who would be willing to ask their question and not only learn themselves, but allow other people to learn on the journey with them? So I hope she inspires you with her bravery and courage, because she inspires me. Welcome, Ta.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. So tell me, what communication question have you been pondering?
Well, we are coming up to a busy time.
Yeah.
The holiday season's upon us. And I'm a yoga teacher, so I foster stillness, quiet, through the yoga practice and also through meditation. What are some tools that would help encourage my students to really take time to do their practice and knowing that that is essential for their well-being? You know, how do I instill that, like connect the dots for them so that they really get excited about it in a way?
Yeah.
Inspirational.
Well, you tell me what's important about it to you. So what's important about mindfulness, about slowing down, about stillness?
Well, the asana practice, the breath work, that's the first step. Once you find that peace just by doing some physical asana, you become addicted to it because it makes you feel so good. You're like, what is this stuff that's happening in my body? Why am I feeling so peaceful? And so that's the first step.
Okay.
And then what comes is the energy starts soothing and relaxing for them, or for us. That's why I practice, you know, because I'm a
For you.
type A. If there's not some tool that I can have personally, you would just see me spinning off into la la land.
So it's really helped you ground yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So really, really important that, first of all, you acknowledge you are them, right? And there's this way that I'm a type A doer as well. And there's this way that I get this little hit of accomplishment and satisfaction when I cross something off my list, right? And what you're actually advocating for is that there's actually a much bigger sense of that internally, if you'll actually do what seems counterintuitive, which is to slow down.
Right, exactly.
And that's the place of intuition, right? It's the place of inner wisdom. It's advocating that maybe what's out there is not half as exciting as what's in here.
Yes.
So I have to tell you, this is my watch.
Now.
All it says is now. There's
gosh.
let me take this off and make sure I show people. This is how I remind myself, right, of anytime I reflexively look down, right, because I can feel it on my wrist. When I do that, I'm like, oh yeah, it is now.
Yes.
Now is the most important moment, right? So I think one piece of this is that you speak from a place of honesty and authenticity.
Yes.
About the times when you don't show up and do your practice.
Isn't that interesting how the contrast, talking about when it doesn't work, really solidifies the fact that this will work if we do it quietly and softly and smoothly, and then everything flows. Yeah.
So your question was really, how do I instill this in my students, right?
Get them excited about it so that they'll intuitively or consciously make time for it for themselves. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me how you went from being type A to making this world so important to you. What got you excited?
It takes time, so you can't expect it to happen overnight. It takes time.
Okay, so shift to I instead of you. Okay. Say the same thing you just said and shift to I.
I know that it takes time.
And I can't get really excited about making it happen immediately.
Right, and I cannot get excited about making it happen immediately, and to really accept the fact that it's progress. It just takes step by step.
Do you notice what you were doing, right? It's like, can we all get to mindfulness quickly, please?
Yeah. Exactly. Help me. No.
And actually,
over the years of teaching, that has been the most challenging thing, to see the potential, to see this growth that can happen like soon, but it never happens that way. It takes time in the body for for the client to experience it in the body. So it's a gradual process, and I need to trust in that. Yeah. So there you go.
So you want to, it's that moment, right?
Yeah.
Self-trust.
Yeah.
So I love that. You feel that shift right now, right?
Absolutely. For me, personally, yes.
Yeah. So I have intermittently used mindfulness, and what I used to say is it took me 33 years to think it was important. And then I started to realize that I started learning guided imagery and breathing and chanting, and I started exploring a variety of options until I found the ones that worked for me.
Right.
Yes. And so I like yoga, chanting. When I can't sleep at night, I have this particular like Krishna Das, chanting that if I put it on will kind of get me in a rhythm and soothe me.
Right.
So I really believe that meditation, yoga, mindfulness practices allow me to enjoy the moment more, right? What I've found is I worked in corporations and I've worked with companies that the way to inspire and engage people is start them with mindfulness to help them get insight. And then what I've done is taken them into how does that insight create action in your life? How then is, if I'm running fast and going through my day, do I snap at the people I love? Do I, I relate it to their real life experiences that then now they have lots more work to do because they have to then go clean up that time that they snapped at whoever it was.
Right, the triggers.
The triggers that happen and how it then sets off a whole series of experiences that happen.
Self-healing, self-awareness, clearing, cleansing, energy,
All of it.
Yes.
So what I've done is I've actually linked mindfulness and meditation and those moments in the present moment to how it's going to change the outcomes.
And so how does that look?
So, well, I wrote a whole book on it. Actually, you can grab it. It's right over there. Do you see the bottom book?
Yes.
Yeah, grab this and I'll show people. And look I didn't even plant you and ask you to say this.
No, you haven't. I know.
It sure looks like I did. But this is the book, TalkRx. So what I do is I basically say step one is your body. And picking up information from your outside world, but being really in tune with your inside world. And when those two things aren't matching, that's your first clue.
Right.
Because if I say yes to you, but inside my stomach starts turning and my heart starts racing, that's mixed messages.
Right.
And so how many times during our day
are we not authentic?
Yes.
Right.
Right. And so I think mindfulness is amazing. And I think it's a practice. And I just think that then we have to link it to our thoughts and our emotions and what we want, and then how we end up taking action in the world. And if we can do that, it takes insight and translates it into action. And for type A's, I've found that the way to get from their head to their heart is by entering intellectually and then slowly dropping.
Because what we think is how we feel too. So we start with that, the thought.
Well, we always start with the body because you and I know that, right? And
but
then
emotionally tied to thinking, right?
Yep.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you're going to take this data and create a thought. Depending on which thought you decide to believe, drops you into an emotion. So if I observe that you roll your eyes and look away, and I decide that that means you don't like me, I'm going to feel rejected, disappointed, upset. Let's say you roll your eyes and look over there, and I think, oh, she must have something in her eye. Like something, there must be someone over there that she's interested. Like, who is that? If I make that thought up, I actually will end up curious.
Right, changing the whole frequency
of everything and how I feel. So I believe that they're intricately connected. And so the way that I've been able to help doctors, nurses, companies, this whole type A world is by linking mindfulness to communication. And our ability to change outcomes and the way that we communicate with ourselves and with others. So I think it's an and.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that helpful?
Oh, extremely helpful. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. So tell me any takeaways you had.
Well, I love the aha moment when I am not mindful of my question, and I'm wanting everybody to be mindful of how busy time, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, it's okay, just the
Yeah.
way it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to remember that reflects in all aspects, all aspects. You can't just isolate on the yoga mat. You translate it to how you think and how you feel.
Yeah, and the rest of your world. Because
Yeah.
type A's want to know, if I'm going to spend this time, how's it going to change and make my world better?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though you love that peaceful moment because it's amazing, right? They don't see that as the end goal. They say, how am I going to make it? How's this going to save me time, make me more effective and efficient, right? So you connect to them here and then slowly drop them here.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Very good. Thank you.
So thank you. And all of you, if you know that you start to lose your mindfulness, whether it's being mindful of how you're eating, whether it's that you start not to sleep at night, or even develop headaches, because I would argue that as we start to get into this rat race of running and not being mindful, if we don't pay attention to the emotional experiences in our life, if the stress overwhelms us, it will actually surface and show up in your physical body. And then you end up in my office, right, asking me how to help you with your anxiety or your headache or blood pressure or something else, right? And so pay attention. What I love about what Ta does in the world is she's one of those gifted leaders that teaches us and reminds us that the time is now. So take a moment to take a few deep breaths. One of the practices that one of my friends, Soren, mentioned on Facebook the other day that I saw is, he said, I've noticed I've been going for my phone lately a lot. I've almost had that reflexive checking of the phone, even though nothing has happened in the last 6 seconds since I checked it, 6 seconds ago. And so what he said was, just take 4 deep breaths. Each time you realize you're reaching for your phone, take 4 deep breaths and do it mindfully.
Right.
So it's not don't do it, just make sure you do it mindfully. So what's one thing you can do mindfully? Pay attention to how you're eating and slow it down. If it's checking your phone and just doing it a little more mindfully, that's my challenge for you until next week. Choose one activity and do it mindfully. Thank you.